there were no secret instructions from the White House. I did not, as CEO of an independent agency, feel obligated to follow the President's recommendation. But I did feel obligated to treat it with the respect that it deserves, just as I have treated with similar respect the input, both pro and con, from 140 senators and representatives.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is from today, testimony from the chairman of the FCC denying any White House. Well, actually, you got to listen to what he said, that there was no secret, orders from the White House. Maybe they were not secret. Joining us now is Ajit Pai. He is the FCC Commissioner. Hello, sir.
Hello, great to be with you.
Well, good to talk to you again. When you hear your chairman talk about no pressure, no secret orders from the White House, basically saying, there was no undue influence from the White House with regard to net neutrality that was passed by your commission a couple of weeks ago. What's your response?
Well, I take the President of the Democratic National Committee at their words. The President said on his net neutrality website, whitehouse.gov, "This is my plan, and I'm asking the FCC to implement it." On the day the FCC took the vote on February 26th, the Democratic National Committee put out a tweet saying, "Hooray, the FCC has, quote, approved President Obama's plan." Now, you cannot square those two statements from those two entities with the notion that the FCC was acting independently. And the position I've taken is that this was a break from our traditional position as an independent agency. And, even if the President's opinion was just one among many, nonetheless, I think it's hard to argue that his opinion was equal. Certainly some opinions in this process were more equal than others.
Absolutely. So what would you say, and I'll put it kindly, I won't use the L word, would you say that the commissioner, the chairman, was less than forthright in his testimony today? Or how would you describe it?
Well, I think he's in a difficult position because, unfortunately, the White House's announcement was so unprecedented that we're sort of in uncharted water here.
Because the White House and the DNC's website admitted that it was their plan, and now you got the chairman of the FCC saying today under oath, the president, there were no orders, it wasn't the president's plan. So that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, and I have some sympathy for the chairman's position. Having proposed something in May, having trotted out an alternative in the summer, just to get blindsided in November by the president and ultimately having to buckle to those instructions, it's a very difficult situation. I think that it doesn't speak well for the agency when we have these extraneous political considerations that are placed on us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so where are we? When are people going to feel the effects of what was passed, these so-called net neutrality rules?
Well, there are going to be a number of different effects over the coming months and years. Most immediately, I think what is going to happen is that the FCC has now explicitly opened the door to an increase in the tax that is going to be placed on broadband. And we are waiting for a joint board to recommend to us on April 7th how big that tax is going to be. That might be kicked back a little bit, but not by much. And so I would imagine in the next month or two, we're going to see for the first time taxes placed on broadband bills. So your bill is going to go up. In the longer term, some of the more incidental effects are going to be a reduction in the amount of competition. Some of the smaller internet service providers are going to find it more difficult to stay in business and certainly much more challenging to deploy infrastructure. And even some of the bigger providers are going to be unsure about what's allowed and what's not allowed under some of these heavy-handed yet uncertain rules.
Right. Now, the limitations on websites or blogs or content, that's under the FEC, not under the FCC, correct, when it comes to the Internet?
It is. I will say, though, that the FCC adopted something that they call the Internet Conduct Standard, and essentially they reserve the right to sanction anybody, any Internet service provider, who does something that might have an effect on free expression, as they put it, and it's unclear how exactly that's going to play out. And the chairman himself said after the February 26th vote, we don't know what comes next when it comes to this Internet Conduct Standard. So
could that affect,
stay tuned.
Yeah. Could that affect, let's say, everybody goes to Newsmax.com, but also the Drudge Report. I mean, could you see a day where the Drudge Report is regulated, or they have to have equal liberal stories, or as opposed to equal out the conservative stories, or something like that?
Oh, I can't tell you if there was anything like the fairness doctrine that was going to be resurrected for the digital age. I mean, I would stand on the rooftops and shout about it till the cows come home, because I think no one wants to return to that age when government regulators were deciding what was and what wasn't appropriate for the American
So you
people
haven't
to see.
seen that yet, anything that would do that yet?
No, I haven't, but as my friend over at the Federal Election Commission, Lee Goodman, and I pointed out in a Political article, that there are some people at the Federal Election Commission who think that things like the Drudge Report are, in fact, political speech that needs to be regulated, and that is a really dangerous precedent.
Mr. Commissioner, keep fighting the good fight, keep speaking out and keeping us informed. Always appreciate your time, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, the man who runs the Gateway Pundit website and blog, Jim Hoft. Don't go away.